Record. All right, we're recording. Okay, so Google Drawings is just, it's another way to, I think it's a really great way to either create content on your own, like be able to make, I have millions of ideas on here, but it was a tool that I hadn't really ever used. Like I kind of went straight for slides to do the same things that I think drawings can do within docs. So I think sometimes if you want your kids to create something and you don't want them to have like a slideshow with just one slide or whatever, they can do it in a doc and do a lot of the same things that they can embed in their slides on their drawings. So I think that's kind of cool. So, oops, sorry. So it allows you to do work in kind of a nonlinear fashion. So make posters, you know, kind of like move things around in a way that a regular doc wouldn't allow you to do. And then the structure of it is super, super simple. So, you know, your only choices are to insert lines, shapes, text boxes, and images. But otherwise, other than that, it works kind of the same as a Google Doc or a Google Slide. So you can create them either by going to Google Drawings and create one all on your own, on its own, like an individual drawing, or you can embed it into a doc that you've already started. So those are kind of the two different ways to do it. So I just have this little slide that I linked to that's a blank Google drawing just to kind of show you, but you probably don't even need this. So this is just one that I opened by itself. It's not within a doc, it's just a drawing. So I have my choices here. I can add lines, shapes, text boxes, images into this is like my canvas here. So I won't add to it right now, but we can go play around with that later if we want to.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So does it look any different when you do it from within the Google Doc?
So when you do it from within the Google Doc, it'll open a separate little window like this and then just embed the drawing on your document. So no,
like
but it's
an image, but the image is something that you draw.
Yeah, yeah. So you can do all the same when you do when you go from within your doc. It will open up a little kind of canvas like this, and anything you draw here will then be embedded in the doc itself. So yeah. So let's see, and then I just want to show you, you know, tons of ideas of kind of what you could do with them. So let's see. So the first idea is to create, you know, graphic organizers. So if you created a graphic organizer on a doc and you inserted text boxes, you could easily have your students then through Google Classroom, you could just assign a copy to each student, and then they could fill in that graphic organizer. There's tons of templates that I linked to here for you of graphic organizers that are already made in Google Drawings. So you could grab those templates, but there's a lot that you can do there in terms of graphic organizers. Another idea is to have students create posters. So again, if you were having, sometimes you might have had them do some sort of poster type thing on a slide. I don't know, but this is just another way they could add images, words, shapes, all kinds of speech bubbles, all kinds of things to a poster if they wanted to, if you wanted them to create a poster. You could do photo comic strips or comic strips with images that you find from the web. So this is a stuffed animal that my class had, and I was taking pictures of it every day last spring when we came home. It was a little guy that lived in our classroom, and so I just grabbed a few of the photos. And then you can insert, you know, the text box up here, speech bubbles. But kids could either take their own photos and create a comic strip, or they could, you know, use photos that they find online, or even use like Bitmojis. They could make, you know, there's all kinds of different kind of comic strip ideas that you could you could use. This was kind of a cool idea. It was doing like magnet poetry. So kind of fun to insert an image of like a refrigerator. You could do like a bulletin board, and then these could be movable words. And so there's a template here for magnet poetry for you. You could do words that relate to a unit that you're doing. You could do words that relate to a novel that you're reading. And so kind of a fun way to have them create some interactive poetry. I've seen it used for blackout poetry too, where there's like a passage and they could kind of black out different parts to reveal the poems. They could annotate images. So, you know, this would be awesome for history. Take a photograph or a painting and have them kind of analyze it or interpret it. What do they see in the picture? I know we do a lot of that, looking at primary sources and things from, you know, the past, and having them kind of, what are the symbols? What are the different things in the painting or the photo that they see? So really easy to add arrows and text boxes to an image. You can just import the image to your drawing, shape it to the size that you want it, and then either create the boxes for the kids and have them go in and say, what do you think this represents? So they know exactly what you want them to label, or just having it be more open-ended.
Hey, Jen, do you mind if I stop now, or should I save my questions on?
No, go for it.
So just, you know, this is always my question. How is that different? Couldn't you do the exact same thing on a Google Doc?
So
you insert a picture and that would be on the doc, and then you would have a text box.
Yeah, I mean, on a doc, the formatting is a little trickier, right? So like, you know, I imagine is like, when I think of a doc, like I'd have my image, but it's kind of hard to overlay things over the image on a doc, right? Whereas this is more like I said, non-linear. So like on a doc itself, if you're gonna add like a box on, I don't even know if you can add.
I've never tried it. It just seems like you could be able to, but this is a good idea.
Yeah, on top of an image. I'm not sure. I mean, I could see doing things underneath the image, but I don't know that you could kind of layer it on top of each other within a doc. You definitely could on a slide. So this would be very similar on Google Slides. I just think it's kind of cool if you already have a document that has some writing or something that you've shared with them, or some questions that you've answered, then you could also have this embedded at the bottom as like another part of the activity, right? All on one doc. And then again, if you assign that doc through Google Classroom, every kid could have their own version and they could, you know, modify it.
Right.
So infographics, lots of ideas for that. I mean, it might be kind of a cool thing, even for an iSearch kind of thing, right? Whatever their topic is, create some like kind of postery, infographic-y kind of things with their information. Timelines, really nice way to make timelines, because you can insert, you know, as many kind of tick marks, and you can add images, you can add text boxes, create the line. So different ideas of how to make timelines with Google Drawings. Like a how-to kind of thing, a tutorial drawing. So I did this one in about 5 minutes, but I just did like how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, remembering the olden days of teaching 6th grade at AMS, when the kids would have to do that writing assignment. I was remembering that. So again, like I inserted kind of everything here. I inserted text boxes, I inserted images, I inserted a Bitmoji. This is actually on the original. This is just a screenshot, but on the original, this is a GIF. And so you can even have moving images and GIFs if you use Giphy or whatever to drag them in. So you can even have moving images and stuff on there, but kind of a fun way to do like an instructional kind of poster or something. This was like a collage, almost like a journal prompt. And it was, what are your favorite, I think this teacher said, what are your favorite summer foods? And so the student kind of created this collage. So it could almost be like a journal entry that allows you to add a lot more detail and make it a lot more interesting with images and speech bubbles and words. Just kind of mix up what they're doing in terms of like a journal entry even, you know, and if you wrote your topic at the top and assigned it to them, then they had all the room at the bottom to insert some sort of Google drawing that kind of personalizes it for them. You know, again, Google Slides, totally a lot of the same elements, But if you're working in docs, this would be a way to do it.
Right.
This idea was just to do visual note taking. So to just kind of teach your kids about when they're reading, to capture what they're reading and kind of do, it's almost like sketch noting or more visual note taking. And I've, seen a lot of evidence that when kids take notes in this way, that it helps them retain the information when they're adding in kind of, bullet pointed, kind of that hierarchy of what was the important information, adding in images and things like that. A great way to kind of capture what they're reading. Oops. To annotate an image, to caption an image. So I just grabbed this from, When Harry Met Sally, but if you were watching a film, or if you're reading a book, or if you are studying a certain time period in history, capturing perspective or something like that, or even doing like a conversation would be kind of fun. I remember having to write when I was in 4th grade, when we were learning how to do punctuation for speech or for dialogue. And we had to write a dialogue kind of back and forth between any two people to practice, so this would be kind of a fun way to do it too, like to kind of write a conversation back and forth between people. So to caption, these are for math. So for any math teachers that might watch this later, the idea of doing like dream houses or geometry kind of stuff, using Google Drawings to do that. And I'll go kind of quickly through these. Sorting shapes, or even sorting images, like sorting symbols. If you had symbols from a book or something like that, kind of sort, any sort of drag and sort kind of thing is really much more possible in Google Drawings than on a doc. And then this was a cool idea to do tangrams. And this guy had some really cool instructions and stuff. So again, just maybe a fun thing to do for if you're giving your kids like extra choice activities or whatever, and you want to post something like that for them. These are from Natasha's art class. She saw that I was doing this on Google Drawings, and she sent me an email and she said, oh my gosh, we just did Google Drawing mosaics. And so she had the kids upload an image, and then she had them use this thing called the polyline tool, which lets you kind of drag a specific shape, and then you fill it with that little bucket fill tool. And then you delete the image when you're all done. And so you end up having this really cool, it's just amazing what the kids did with these. They were amazing. So her Padlet of all their artwork is linked here, so you could see more of what they've been doing if you haven't had a chance to see those. Really mind-blowing. And then I saw this on Twitter was another art lesson, which is again using that polyline tool to create. And I was thinking, we used to do this art project in 4th grade. We were doing the 4 regions of California. And so, and we did something kind of similar to this, where there were the regions kind of layered on each other, but that might be kind of cool to try to represent digitally as well. So those were what kind of just like all the different ideas, and we can look a little bit more at an actual drawing if you want to. There's tons more templates that I found here. I linked to the Google support for drawings with lots of ideas and videos and stuff. And then if you were teaching your kids to use Google Drawings, I found a teacher who had made a video tutorial for students. It's pretty short, just a couple minutes long, but if you were kind of introducing it to them for the first time, I think, for students, it's going to be super instinctual because it's all the same stuff they've been using in docs and slides. And so I don't think they'd have any trouble. And obviously, if they're in art, they're using it. If they're in some of their other, in some of their other classes, it sounds like they're using it as well. So any thoughts, questions, ideas?
I had a question about the dragging option.
Yeah.
How does that work if you're making a copy of something? Is it the type of thing where they can change anything? If you're making it, like I make a assignment, and then I'm thinking maybe, having terms that they have to sort into different categories. They can move those around, or is there a particular way I need to do that?
Let me look. Let's
Okay.
go back and
Yeah.
see what where was the, let's see. Let's just take a look at their template.
Yeah, this is what I
for-
was thinking about, right?
Yeah, for the poetry and see what they did. Because I know what I would do in slides. I would probably do the stuff I wanted to stay put in the master, right? Use master slide for that, and then in the one that I assigned to them, make the movable pieces like movable. So let's see what she did. Let's use the template. So weird that I'm looking away from my screen. Okay, so just have to let it load. Yeah, I'm curious what she did to make.
So if you wanted to do this and you want to choose the words, like Jen, you said, if you're doing some unit and you want to use specific vocabulary,
Yeah,
you could figure this out. If you just want to do magnet poetry, there already are sites that let you do that.
yeah,
So just so you know, Abby, if you're just thinking about doing a random thing, like I do this with sixth graders, so there's already these sites that you can do that with. So you wouldn't have to like reinvent the wheel or anything if you're just looking for an activity.
Creative
But
writing.
if you wanted to actually have control over what the words were, then that's a different issue.
Right. That's what I would want. I
yeah.
mean, thinking about stuff for ELD would be great, and then also for history, it seems really good for, sorting,
Yeah.
categorizing terms.
It looks like what she did was inserted an image, because when I click on the refrigerator, like this whole part, like, looks like it's an image.
Okay.
But then over that image, you use this arrange thing, and it looks like she inserted the text boxes kind of on top of the bigger image that she had put as like her background. So technically, I think kids maybe, like if I hit backspace, they could technically delete that image that she had inserted, but I don't know that the kids would know that that was an option. Like I think it'd be kind of hard for them to do that. But because when they click, because these are on top of that image, they're just going to get the boxes to be able to drag. You could also, I think you could, I'm not sure. It looks like she inserted all these as images as well, so that you can't change the, the words. So you'd have to kind of create that kind of idea on your own. Yeah. But I'd be happy to help make a template that was more modifiable, where it had the boxes and you could like plug in your own words.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not that different from making a copy of anything. They can change it, right? I mean, I haven't really had that problem with eighth graders. Right. I'm just doing my assignments on docs, and I'll fill in the blank, and they're not erasing things. I mean,
right. And I think that
some tried to erase questions. I'm like, well, okay. There were 5 more questions on here, but
totally. And I think that I tend to think that in slides, it's easier to kind of delete pieces unless you kind of lock them down. Whereas something like this, because they're just getting right to the work of moving the words around, that they're not really thinking, thinking of that background image. So, okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that when you're in a doc, so if we opened a new doc, like those I made as like separate, just did new, and I went to more and I did a drawing, and I just opened a drawing and started one, and they're individual. But if I am doing it from within a doc, then it's just going to insert it wherever, I am in my document. So if I wanted to write a bunch of questions at the top of my doc and then insert an image down at the bottom, like, sorry, it's so slow.
right. That happens to me when I'm on Zoom.
Yeah.
The kids.
And it's recording and everything.
Yeah.
What is the main idea of when Harry met Sally? And, you know, and you had a box for them to answer a question. Like, you know, you could make this, sorry,
That's right.
you know, more of an interactive, it's got multiple parts to it, right? And so they have their place where they're going to answer a few questions at the top, or maybe you've inserted whatever you've inserted. And then down here you say, then you could add, you know, the image. So if I do insert a drawing, and I'm doing, I could either insert that When Harry Met Sally one that I already made separately, or I could just do my drawing right here from within the doc. So if it's going to open up my drawing eventually.
Yeah, I could totally see that with the thought bubble. Seems really great in the middle.
Yeah. So that like, yeah.
I mean, animation of a picture, that would be really
right.
cool.
Right. So here, once I have this open, I could even, you know, build it out from here. So within this drawing, within the doc, I could search and find the photo. And then I could, my goodness.
It's okay. I mean, I know you're already, I mean, I get the idea.
Yeah, you get the idea. But you could insert the drawing here, look for the photo, put the speech bubbles over it, and then save it and close it. And then that's going to be embedded. Whatever you save and close here is going to be embedded down at the bottom of your doc.
And they can write in the speech bubbles as a text box, or do you think that they would have to put a text box in there, but they're smart enough to be able to do that?
Yeah, well, you could either, I think in drawings that, that shapes might be edited, like you might be able to type inside of a shape. And if not, you could add a text box in there for them. And then before you assign it, it's already built in, you know, like you've already inserted that for them. So yeah, I just thought I thought some of the kind of more like, I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna actually, well, I won't stop recording quite yet. But I just thought that some of the more like artistic, you know, like free form elements of it were kind of cool, that it allows you to be a little less like I said, linear than a Google Doc.
Right.
You know, posterish, like, you know, embedding things on top of other things and like dragging things around. Whereas I find formatting with photos and stuff on a doc super frustrating, like to get the text where I want it. And if I'm embedding photos within text on a doc, I can never remember which, like, do I want it to wrap or do I not want it to wrap, or like, and so this doesn't require you to do that kind of thing. So.
My only issue with drawing, and I don't know if because I haven't used it recently, if they've changed this, can you do it now in portrait or is it always in?
That's a good question. I don't know. It almost looked to me like it showed up as like almost like a big square, like the size of it was interesting.
I think that was one of my issues with it, because I think like 7th grade tried to use it for like the Time magazine covers, and the formatting was always off because you could only do it one way.
Oh, it does have page setup and you can do custom.
Okay. So they would have to do that on there. Because why can't I think of the other word? Landscape.
Okay. So I mean, I wonder if you set up the template for them as landscape and assigned it on Google Classroom that was set up that way, and they each got their own copy, you know, then they wouldn't have to know to do that. But yeah, it does look like you can change, because right now it's right now it's like a standard is 4:3 or 4:3. But you can change it to either widescreen or you can put in custom inches, whichever way you want. So anyway, I didn't know too much about it, so I just thought I'd kind of put it out there. Another option.
I know I've used it. I have a really simple question. I can't get to it. When I go to my apps, it's not an option. Do I need to go to the web store?
No, you shouldn't have to.
Okay.
If you go to your drive, if you go to your drive and go to the new button, do you see it under more?
No. Can I share my screen?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to stop recording. Bye, everybody.